This year I want to learn how to paint, and I'm really studying it and practicing it. And so in this video, I'm sharing my process for actually painting a few portraits of my own characters. So yeah, I'm gonna break down my process and show you how I'm learning and going about painting these portraits. So let's get to it. All right, so first off, I gotta do what I'm most comfortable with, and that is start with a line drawing. Um, I'm not comfortable enough with painting to just paint with colors yet. That'd be fun to do, fun to try out. But for now, I'm kind of sticking to my comfort zone, and I am just drawing the figure with lines before I actually go in and paint. And you'll see in a little bit that I actually merge the two layers. I'll merge the sketch layer and the paint layer and just paint over everything. But yeah, this is how I start each of the portraits, just with a nice sketch. I use a reference so that I have some type of just an easy way to create a composition, a portrait composition that's interesting. This is why this is one of my favorite portraits, because I actually like this composition a little bit more than the other ones. But overall, I like how it came out. And so here you see me laying down the flat colors. And what I've learned in painting is that if you can understand how the forms work, then you can paint light and shadow on top of those forms pretty easy. For me, it wasn't that difficult to learn how to do this, but when you practice painting forms like spheres, cylinders, and things like that, you notice how the light interacts with those forms. And so if you can take those things that you practice with those basic shapes, you can apply it to faces and things like that, because this character's head is just a big sphere. And so after I have all the flat colors down, I add the shadows, then the light, and then I go in and start adding detail. And at this point here, I'm just having fun with this portrait, just making sure that I like what I'm seeing, and so far so good. Of course, there's still room to improve, but overall I'm happy with this little sketch. All of these only took about an hour and a half to do, so I wasn't too committed to rendering them to completion. I just really wanted to practice what I've been learning through Ahmed Al-Duri's painting course that I'm taking. And so overall, I like how this turned out, and I'm enjoying the course because it's really teaching me the fundamentals of painting and what I need to do. So I would highly recommend that you check that course out if you want to learn how to digitally paint as well. So that's the first portrait done. Then I move on to my character Eris, and for him, same process. I get a sketch going, and I use some reference for the lighting and the skin color and what he's wearing. It's nothing too complicated, but this is my least favorite portrait that I did, mainly because of the composition. It's all right. I think I could have made something a little bit more interesting, like I did with the first portrait, where her hands are interacting with her face and stuff like that. But yeah, this is not something that's super serious. It's more like a sketch than it is like a fully rendered painting. So I'm just practicing what I'm learning, and one of the biggest things that I am learning right now is that I don't know anything about painting still, and I feel like I still have a long way to go before I become really good at it. The hardest part for me about painting is blending forms and trying to figure that out. I think one thing I could do to make this a little bit more interesting, this exercise more interesting, was use a different kind of brush. I could have added more textures to the skin, but I just use like a flat brush with the same opacity over everything and use that same brush to blend everything. So maybe I can try painting with a different kind of brush to achieve different textures in the painting and to make it look a little bit more interesting. Make it look more like a traditional piece of artwork where they have the texture of the canvas and all the other brushes. So that's something I would like to try out, is different kinds of brushes to add different kinds of textures to the painting. I kind of did that with the robe that he's wearing, where I have these hatched lines going across, and that implies some type of texture to the piece. So yeah, overall this is the second painting, and I like how it turned out, but this is my least favorite. All right, so this is the last painting I did. So same process for this character. What I really wanted to experiment with is a different lighting scenario. And so half of his head is in the light and half of it is in shadow. And so I like how that played off with each other. And I like how that gives it a certain mood to the piece. He looks a little bit more mysterious. And it's cool what you can get, like what kind of effect you can get, what kind of mood you can get when you just play with the light and how you use the different shapes of the light to color or paint the character. I think the biggest thing I've taken away from just my studies and practicing how to paint is that overall painting is just about these simple shapes and using them to convey three-dimensional objects in three-dimensional space. And so if you can learn how to render forms, super basic forms, and make them look realistic, then you'll be able to carry that over into more stylized paintings like this. So this is the end result after a little bit of color adjustments and editing. These are what I got, and I can't wait to see how much better I can get. So if you have any questions for me about this painting process, let me know in the comments, and I will see you in the next video. Peace.